Hey, Peace World. So get into some bite down boxing talk really quickly, presented by Pay Me No Mind Sports and Entertainment. My name is Wood. Please consider becoming a subscriber to the channel as well as hit that like button if you dig the way any of the information is being presented, broken down, previewed, discussed, analyzed, reviewed, preview, argument, whatever. Undefeated, super middleweight. David Benavidez, you probably know by now, has missed weight and lost his WBC title ahead of tomorrow night's what was planned for his first defense of his second reign as the WBC champion at 168 against Alexis Angulo. And so I just wanted to provide a little bit of context, get some thoughts out there. And I'm interested to see how you now approach this fight, because I know I've been critical of Tank Davis, Gervonta Davis, about his issues with struggling on the scale. And, I'm just being consistent. And so let's back up for a second. Wednesday, they had the press conference, the e-press conference. I actually had a chance. I attended it. Actually had a chance to ask Benavidez a few questions myself. But during his initial comments and the questions that Chris DeBlasio of Showtime Sports, Showtime, asked him some questions, one thing that he said was that he recently moved from Phoenix to Seattle. It's kind of an odd move to me, to be honest. But especially for a person with a decent amount of money at 22, 23 years old. He has a child on the way. I think the child is about his first child, I believe. The child is like 2 or 3 weeks. Childbirth is like, will be delivered in the next 2 to 3 weeks. He also mentioned that his father was in the process of opening up a gym as the COVID-19 situation set in and we got into this pandemic. So that leads me to believe that his family, it wasn't just him that left Phoenix. His family made that move. I thought the move itself was a good thing. The reason why he was in his second reign was because he lost his first title. He was stripped because of the positive test for cocaine. So I'm assuming, he was getting away from his hometown, changing his scenery, and he mentioned that he was just in a better space personally. Things were going well with his significant other, and he was looking to move into the next phase of his life and get serious, about his career and maximizing his career. So everything was on the up and up. Another thing that he mentioned was that he'd been in his room since being in Uncasville, Connecticut, at the Mohegan Sun Casino and Resort, or whatever it's called. He said he was more a fan of staying confined to his room. So he said because it might have been Keith Edick, maybe, who asked and said something. A lot of fighters like to walk around, venture out a little bit and kind of stay active, so on and so forth. He said he preferred to stay in his room and stay to himself. They had another thing that was mentioned was that they had designated times to be in whatever kind of workout facility that they have there, or whatever kind of gym. If you remember, in the Grand Conference Center at the MGM Grand for Top Ranks bubble, they had another room where guys were working out, like a second part of the banquet center or something, where fighters were working out while fights were actually happening. So during the press conference, these guys were being shuffled in and out. They have one fighter come in, he talks and does his thing. Then they have a break. They come in and sterilize everything, clean the room, so on and so forth. So all of this stuff is very ordered. I'm mentioning this because how have you sat around for a week and a half or whatever that you've been there, and you're in your room, you're spending a lot of time in your room, and you're not on top of your weight? Now, getting to, I think that was pretty much most of the interesting comment. Oh, and then basically, like I asked one question, somebody else asked it a little differently or more directly than I did. It might have been Fight Hub TV, Marcos, Viegas, or whatever. He was aware of the fact that the unification bout with Caleb Plant was out there. He mentioned fighting, the importance and how awesome it would be, for his career and lucrative to face a Canelo Alvarez. And he said he had no intention of going up to light heavyweight because he had so many things that he wanted to complete at super middleweight, 168 pounds. So he was cognizant of everything that was in front of him. And so how does this affect your approach to the fight this weekend? We know we have the DAZN card out there with Cecilia Brækhus and Jessica McCaskill in the main event, and then Israel Madrimov against Eric Walker, Ray Ford, Nikita Ababe, Mark Castro. But we're talking about a guy who could have started creeping into the pound for pound discussion. Like I said, a very interesting fight with the Caleb Plant, the IBF super middleweight champion. Very interested in Benavidez against a Canelo Alvarez. Benavidez also spoke about he was aware of the rising talent in Edgar Berlanga, who's up at super middleweight, 15-0, 15 first round knockouts over on Top Rank. He said it was obviously, Mexican fighter, Mexican American against Puerto Rican American fighter. How are you cognizant of all of this and yet and still you're 170.8 on the weigh-in? I thought the weigh-in might have been a little early. But you're 3 pounds over, it doesn't really matter. But it just seemed a little early for it to be East Coast time. But maybe, I don't know. He did not even try to utilize the time to go lose the weight. He just accepted it. The fight will go on as planned. I was seeing commercials for this fight. I wanted to see what Benavidez looked like. I think Angulo is a decent opponent. And, what did this bout potentially set up? Now, like, we also have Otto Wallin and Travis Kaufman on the card. So again, what does this do for the fight? What does this do for your interest in the card? Does this potentially harm, audiences, the numbers that Showtime was looking for, which, they needed a good showing, I think, in its second card. More named stars on here, a heavyweight fight, moving up from the Angelo Leo defeat of Tremaine Williams for the WBO Super Bantamweight title. It's inexcusable. And in these current situations, the stakes are so raised right now with the extra costs to hold these events. The people putting these fights on, they already don't have gates. You got the extra cost for the testing and all the protocol that needs to be in place. Like, you gotta be a professional right now. It can't be any slip-ups and accidents right now. Now, lastly, before I get on out of here, man, I'm watching the fight because I was going to watch the fight Saturday, but I can't ignore the fight that only Angulo, I don't know. I guess one good thing is that it was no way for me to go to the fight and try to travel to the fight, so it didn't disrupt anything for me as far as it didn't cost me any or waste any money that I had invested. But it definitely brings down the cachet of what I thought was going to be a really meaningful fight Saturday night. And now it's marred. So that's it, man. My name is Wood, Bite Down Boxing. Don't let them count you out. Best of luck to Rolly Romero against Jackson Marinez. And I want to see what Otto Wallin does. Kaufman. Kaufman he was trained by brother Nazim Richardson, who passed away recently. Coming in very motivated. Philadelphia, fighting out of PA. So I'm tuning in, but it does take a little luster off of an exciting night of Showtime Championship Boxing. Enjoy the weekend, man. Fights. I think Fight Camp could get started here in an hour and a half. 2 cards tomorrow, DAZN and Showtime. Enjoy it all. Peace.